And I remember I said no at first. I was like, oh no, I can't do heroin. And like 20 minutes later, I looked at him and said, well, make me feel better? And he goes, instantly. So I proceeded to shoot up heroin for the first time, and he wasn't wrong. Instantly, I felt better, and the guy looked at me, and I'll never forget it. He looks at me and he goes, sorry, kid, your life's never gonna be the same. And he walked away. I am, let's see, who is Brad Jensen? I'm a dad. I'm a single dad, and to a 2-year-old boy. He's my world. I'll have 10 years sober from drugs and alcohol in November 20th. I don't know when this will air, but of this upcoming year, that'll be 10 years. So, and I like to say I'm just kind of a fitness entrepreneur. It's kind of the space I've stayed in, but I love all things health and fitness. I got certified as a personal trainer when I was still in high school, so it was 2003. And because my mom told me you need to go to college, and I said, why the fuck would I go to college? I literally hate school. Like, I remember she was like, well, what are you gonna go? Where are you gonna go to school? And I'm like, I despise going to school. Why would I keep going?
Yeah.
She's like, well, you got to do something. And I was like, all right. So I got certified, and so I got a job at Bally Total Fitness in 2003. Do you remember that place?
Yep.
God, man, all the fluorescent lights, and it was something else. So it's kind of what I've done ever since, like bounced in and out of places, but, you know, and I own a company called Key Nutrition, and we're doing business coming up on 6 years in February, and yeah, my life is good.
10 years sober.
Yeah, almost, yeah.
Damn, almost 10 years sober in September.
Yeah, November.
Yeah. I'm like, September, that'd be freaking 20.
Yeah, you're really counting up here if that was going next year. Yeah, it was, you know, and I was, you know, I was actively addicted I will be sober as long as I was actively addicted. So it's kind of a cool milestone.
That is, dude. Most people that get into drugs, they don't ever come back.
Yeah.
Let alone, you know, kind of creating success that you've got going on right now.
Yeah.
They're usually just lost.
It's very true.
So
they really are.
Lost. What did that take you down like a dark road? Did you go to prison or something?
Not prison. I was hoping to go to prison. I kept trying to wait to go to prison, but they wouldn't send me because the jail sucks.
Oh, I'm like, why is that?
You know, prison, they let you live a little more because people are doing life in there. So, like, you know, their idea of a yard, like at the county jail is this just, I mean, I don't know, 100-foot circular concrete wall with a grate on top. Like, you can't even see anything.
It's like a Best Western.
Yeah. But I went to jail actually 17 times to be exact. I didn't stay every time, but in totality, I think I added it up. I think I did like 20 months, not consecutively, but I'd do a couple months here and then a couple months there. And yeah, I mean, it was dark. It was, I immediately... So in high school, I don't know how much of the story you want me to tell. I'll try to tell the Cliff Notes. But in high school, one reason why I didn't want to go to college either was I had started going down to Tijuana, Mexico. I linked up with these older guys who I just thought were so cool. It turns out they were probably losers. And they were going down to Mexico, and they'd go down there, and they'd go to the pharmacias, and they'd get a bunch of steroids and narcotics, and they would take the door panels off the car, shove them all in there, and then zip them back up and drive through the border with the sombrero on, and they come back and sell them. And so one time I got the idea to go. I was like, I'm gonna go do this. So I went and did it, and
with them or by yourself?
By myself.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Well, I went with another buddy, but I was like, dude, I know what they're doing. Let's just go down there and do it.
Yeah.
So we went down there, just idiot savant, not realizing the amount of actual federal felonies I was committing by like drug trafficking through like, you know, different countries. And I got away with it. And I got away with it like 3 times. And so by the time I was a senior in high school, I thought I was pretty much had arrived. That's where my entrepreneurship began. I always joke because I was selling drugs and had a bunch of drugs and was doing them pretty much every day, but not to the point where even like my parents knew. They knew I had a boatload of cash, which was weird because they found a briefcase one time, and I was like, oh, that's not mine. I'm like, why do you have so much money? I'm like, I don't know. That's so weird. I don't know how we ended up with that. And so what had happened was I started using OxyContin then and was getting it from Mexico, and I never really ran out. And so I did it every day. And you see, I was selling drugs to other high school kids. So I didn't realize, like, I didn't see the side of like the junkie banging on my door, my window at 2 a.m. needing their stuff.
Yeah.
And I had heard about like people talk about withdrawals and stuff, but I was using it every day about the last 6 months of high school. And then towards the end, actually, it was the summer after my senior year, a buddy had gone down, another friend of mine had gone down to do the same thing. He got caught. He got stuck in a Mexican prison. It was all over the news. And I was like, oh, crap. Like, okay, I can't go anymore. I'm too pretty to go to a Mexican prison, so I'm not going. And I thought, you know what? It's time to just clean up my life. I'm good. I'm done. And so I thought that, and I had heard about, like, withdrawals and detox, but I was like, I was just doing a little bit every day. It can't be that bad. But I didn't go a day without it. So your body becomes physically dependent. And so I did the rest of what I had, and I said, all right, it's time to grow up, time to move on. I'll just stop. And when I stopped, the withdrawals were so bad, like vicious. And I was not expecting it to be that sick. And it's like the worst flu you've had times 10 with like almost a mild panic attack all the time.
What was it you were taking every day?
Oxycontin, opiates, okay. Yeah. And a bunch of other things, muscle relaxers, this, that. But the Oxycontin is what got me. And so I ended up calling a buddy and was like, dude, I can't do this. I'm so sick, bro. I'm shaking. I'm shivering. And he had said, come over. My older brother has something for you. So I showed up at his house, and this guy walked in and proceeded to give me I'll leave out some of the graphic details, but basically, as an 18-year-old kid, I shot up heroin for the first time. And I remember it was a line in the sand I had drawn. Like, I was the youngest of 5. I came from a Mormon family. Like, I was like, this isn't supposed to happen to me. Like, and I was like, oh, heroin is gross. Like, that's like junkies downtown. And I remember I said no at first. I was like, oh, no, I can't do heroin. And like 20 minutes later, I looked at him and said, well, make me feel better? And he goes, instantly. So I proceeded to shoot up heroin for the first time. And he wasn't wrong. Instantly, I felt better. And the guy looked at me, and I'll never forget it. He looks at me, and he goes, sorry, kid, your life's never going to be the same. And he walked away. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? I was like, how am I going to keep doing this? And then I found out how cheap it was. And then the next day, of course, came, and I was going to be just as sick, so I just kept using. And so it got a lot of people, like, gradually go into it. I just, like, went full bore, into it. And so ended up in my first treatment center when I was 19, maybe it was 2005. And I showed up there, and I was like, okay, so clearly I overreacted. Like, you guys are way worse than me. Like, this is not going to be a problem, but I won't do heroin anymore, but I'm not going to stop, like, partying. I'm not even 21 yet. Yeah. And so I got out, and I started partying again, drinking, and within a couple months, it led me right back to the hard stuff. And that pattern went on and on from basically then until November 20th of 2012. I mean, just incomprehensible demoralization. Like, it's just, looking back, it's just the insanity of it all. Like, I could not stop. Like, I'd get these brief times, I'd get sober, I'd get back in the fitness industry, I'd get back working. I mean, I know Mike Manfrey was on your show. Yep. And then I'd end up back in jail, and Mike Manfrey would come around. He was the cop then. Oh, and shit. Yeah. And so I knew Mike from high school. Yeah. And Mike actually had some really cool chats with me. He'd actually pull me out. He definitely favored me a little in there. And like, he'd pull me out and when everyone was locked up, and he'd be like, what in the fuck are you doing, man? I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, dude, like, you gotta stop this shit, man. And I was like, I know. And I'd get out, and I'd do good for like a month or two, and then it's just the same shit, man. I'd go right back to it, like whether I wanted to or not, it felt like.
What broke the cycle?
Man, so that last year, so, keep in mind, like, in this time, this is not a joke. I got married to a crackhead that I was dating, barely remember getting married. It doesn't
help.
No, apparently she's in prison now, but I married her. Don't remember getting married. Like, we were in this blacked out, glazed over. They make it way too easy to get married. I recently got divorced about 1.5 years ago, and that shit was hard. But getting married was super easy. You just barely pay a fee, and you go to the courthouse, and there you are. And, I lived in my car during this time. I mean, all those trips to jail and all this stuff. And it just, like, wasn't wasn't enough. Like, I don't know what my problem was. So the last year, so I did almost all of 2011 in jail. That was the longest stretch I'd done. They gave me a year on my sentence, but you do about 8 months with good time. And that was like a long stretch for me. And I remember thinking like, oh, like I've never been clean this long, like I'm done. But the reality was I didn't change who I was at all. Like I was the same dude. I was in there getting in fights, gambling, you know, doing all this shit. And so I got out and I remember I was like, this is it. I'm going to stay sober. And 3 days out of jail, the itch came back, man. And it just like hit me. And I remember they tell you all the shit in rehab, because I had a bunch of rehabs too, where, you know, play the tape through and think about it. Like, and I did all that. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go use and I'm not going to stop and I might die. Like, and I still
Is that
went
what
into it.
playing the tape through is?
Yeah, like play, like
put it through your
like
mind.
What happened last time? Like
step.
once I start, like, and this is what makes a difference between someone who's an addict and someone who just maybe likes to use drugs, was once I started, I was powerless. Like once I put that first one in me, like all bets were off. Like it just, no matter what, it just ran my life. No matter what I wanted to do, it's like, and so I played the tape all the way through. I was like, you're going to go down. You're going to pick up, and most people will overdose when they've been sober, you know, as long as I had at that point.
Yeah.
And, okay, so let's say you don't overdose. What's going to happen? Well, you're not going to stop till something stops you, and you're going to ruin everything. And I still went anyways, and I was crying on the way down. And anyways, picked it up, and that started a long run for me. So all of 2012, from like January until my sobriety date in November, I didn't draw a sober breath. And my pattern is all the other times I would go 3 or 4 months on a massive bender, and then something would step in. My parents would send me to detox or rehab, or the cops kept intervening, which sometimes I was grateful for.
Yeah.
I'd go on these gnarly 4-month runs, and this time it just went because my parents had cut me off. They're like, we're done. We're not, like, you're not allowed around here. And rightfully so. Like, I'd stolen their checks. Like, it was, and they just said, we're done. Like, you got to figure it out on your own. And so we love you, but don't come around here. So, and I didn't have any pending charges, because that's why they finally just gave me the year in jail. So I wasn't on probation for the first time. So I wasn't like, had warrants out, and I just went. I didn't draw a sober breath, and I was homeless that whole year. And so I didn't, I never slept on the streets. I was very resourceful.
The whole year you were homeless?
Yeah. Bouncing from place to place, motel to motel. Not like good motels, like ones down, like, you know, around the block here that you're just like, oh.
Down on
like
the
I got
corner?
off on 33rd, and I looked at that Motel
That
6,
one on
and
this
I was
corner?
like, oh.
Oh, dude, that's bad.
Yeah, and like that's the places I was staying, and just the people I got involved with, like you know, because before I would do these little 3 or 4 month benders, and then I'd get sober for 2 or 3 months, and I'd get my size back. Like, I actually didn't really look like a junkie. Like, it was really odd. I you know, I still lifted sometimes even when I was using, and this I fully succumbed to the fact that, like, okay, you're a junkie, man. And I just went that whole year. And so, was homeless the whole year, slept place to place. And so by the end of the year, it started to get cold out, and just the heinous shit I saw that year. It's a really long answer to your question.
No, it's good, dude. No, it's good, dude.
Okay. Like the people I got involved with, I made the decision. This is what I thought was a calculated decision, was that I was going to start using meth with the heroin, because I couldn't stay awake on the heroin. And so I had to hustle every day to get a new $150 to get my fix, and then to try to get 50 more bucks for a cheap motel every single day.
Damn.
And so I started using meth, and the people that introduced me to, there were some bad people, like, and shit that I just never thought I would see. I just was ending up in these, I was like, is this real life? Like, what's happening? Like, people, just kidnapping this girl over a $30 drug debt, and I'm in the back seat, and I'm like, what's happening? This girl's hogtied, like, shit that I'm just like, this. I remember thinking sometimes, like, I think you're hallucinating. This isn't real. And it was all real.
It's just crazy how it snowballs.
It's so bad, man.
You hear about it. You hear that it leads to other things and everything, but it's listening to you talk right now, dude, just the snowball.
Just absolutely spiraled. Like, it was like sucked me in, and so by the end of that year, man, like I'd watched some really, really bad shit towards the end of the year. And shit that I never wanted to see. And I was like, what am I a part of? And hanging out with people who were being wanted for murder. And I was like, for the first time, I was like, if the drugs don't kill you, these people might. Like, and I was paranoid because of the meth, and I wasn't sleeping. And so by the end of the year, come November, it's getting cold too, and it really sucks to be homeless.
Did you go straight meth, or were you still doing the heroin meth?
Oh yeah, heroin
combo?
every day. Yeah, and then meth. And by the end, I was just doing basically anything I could get my hands on. And so the turning point is like towards the end of that year, I remember I started to get scared, like scared for my life, and I couldn't differentiate the false from the real. Like I couldn't differentiate, like, am I hallucinating because I'm not sleeping and I'm on meth, or like, am I actually legitimately in danger? Like, are these people going to kill me? Like, and I couldn't tell, but looking back, I'm like, you probably might have got killed. Like, these were not good dudes. And so by the end of the year, I started praying for the first time in a long time. And I just was like, dude, if something's up there, like, please help me. I don't even know what's going on. Like, I don't know how I got so deep in this world. And so by the end of the year, my mom called me in November, and she said, hey, your grandfather passed away. And I was like, shit. And she was like, I really want you to be at the funeral. I said, okay. She said, but, please do whatever you got to do just to be right. And I go, and I knew what that meant.
Yeah.
It meant don't be so high that I'm drooling all over myself or acting weird, and don't be withdrawing where I'm shitting myself and shaking and shivering. And so I just said, okay, I will. So 2 days later, the day comes where she's got to pick me up from the shitty motel. And of course, I ran out of drugs. I'm super sick. I'm dope sick, they called it. And it's pretty violent to watch somebody go through that. So she picked me up, and I remember just thinking, okay, just go tough it out, and then when you get back, you can go get some. Like, I felt this obligation to show up for my grandpa. So she picked me up, and I hopped in the car, and immediately she was like, you got to be kidding me. She was like, you're a mess. And I was like, I can do it, and I'm shaking and shivering, and all of a sudden I just vomit all in her car. And she's like, you cannot go up like this. She was like, what do we need to do? And I said, we need to call the drug dealer's house. So I made my good little religious mother at the time, she's not part of the church anymore, but take me to the dope man's house, went in, got the drugs, and when I came back out, we were going to be way late. We had to go up to Brigham City. She was going to be late to her own dad's funeral. And so she said, hop in the back seat and do whatever you got to do. So she knew I used drugs, but she never watched me use them. And so the moment that it all changed for me is I hopped in that back seat, and I remember we were driving up the highway, and so it's very graphic. Like, you got to find a vein, and I didn't have any at the point. They were, and I'm cooking up the heroin, and then I'm trying to find a vein. There's blood going everywhere. It's just, and I remember my mom just looking at me in the rearview mirror, and she didn't say a word, and she's just crying, and she's not sobbing. They're not yup-yups. It's just tears, and she's not even wiping them off her face. And I don't know how we didn't crash, because she's just looking in the rearview mirror the whole time with just like this head shake. And I'm thinking the whole time, you are the most selfish piece of shit. Like, my mom had never watched me actually do drugs. And so I shot up, and immediately, obviously, I felt better from the physical, but it was one of the first times that it couldn't numb the emotional pain. I remember thinking in that moment, and it was a very distinct thought. I looked at her and I said, I'm sorry. And she didn't say a word, and I just said, shit. And I thought, I got two options here. You either kill yourself, man. And that I hadn't actually wanted to kill myself when I'd been on the drugs. When I was sick, I wanted to.
Yeah.
But legitimately, I said, you need to kill yourself or you need to get sober. Like, I can't go on a day like this. And so that night, I went to my grandpa's funeral and got back. And that night, I hopped in a car. This guy came and picked me up, and he asked me if I'd drive because he was too high. But it turns out he asked me to drive because the car was stolen. So I got in the car, and we're going to get drugs, and I'm getting on I-15, and I almost hit a cop because I'm texting the dealer. And I swerve, and I almost hit him, and he has to swerve off into the grass and come back. And I looked, and I go, that's a cop. And he flipped on his lights, and I was like, shit. And the kid informs me that the car is stolen. And he came up, and the cop said, do you know why I pulled you over? And I remember it was just this, like, moment of surrender. Like, I just took a deep breath, and I was like, all right, I've been praying for this to end. This is the end. And I said, yeah, I almost hit you. This car's stolen. I'm high. I don't have a license. You need to take me to jail. He was like, wait, what? He was like, okay. He was like, well, you're not wrong. The car's stolen. Like, let's go. So he took me to jail, and that's where my journey began. And that was November 19th. And so I went through the most hellacious withdrawals in jail. Never like had kicked like that. And I remember just thinking the whole time, like, this is the last time you have to do this. This is the last time you have to do it, dude. Just go through this. This is the last time if you want it to be. And I laid on the cement in my own vomit, and I'd said things in there like I'm going to kill myself, so they put me in like the solitary like crazy unit. Like, not good things to say when you say that. So, and I got out of jail, man. I actually got out of jail 30 days later. The charges were dropped because it turns out the kid stole it from his mother, so she dropped the charges, and they called me to go home, and I was like, wait, what? I thought I was going to be in there a while, and I called my mom. She came and picked me up, and she dropped me off. She said, you can't come to the house, but I'll drop you off at a recovery meeting, like an AA meeting. So she dropped me off, and that's where my journey began. So,
dude, that's crazy. That's crazy.
That was a really long way to say
what
that.
year?
Sorry, dude.
No, you're good. What year was it that you ended up figuring out that that's where the journey was going to end? What year was that you went into jail for 30 days?
November 20th, 2012.
2012.
So that's when it'd be 10 years. So, and I haven't had a drink or a drug or any mind-altering substances since, man. Just did the deal finally. And like, it was that moment in the backseat of my mom's car. And I've shared that story a lot, but that was the moment it changed. There was something different that happened when it was divine. It was supposed to be that way. And I just hated who I was. Like, I was sick. Like, the look on my mom's face was just ultimate heartbreak. And so yeah, man, I haven't looked back since. And I worked my ass off to get sober. And I did everything they told me in every rehab to do. I finally actually did it. I changed everything. I changed all the people I was hanging out with. I went to a ton of meetings. I took direction. Just anything I could do. Like, I was just a sponge for information. People tell me what to do, and I was like, done. Like, if it helps me stay sober, let's do it. You
still have to try every day?
You know, it's interesting.
That's something that a lot of people say is like, I have to keep trying every day.
I have to, people ask me, do I still go to meetings? And I was like, yeah, I do. Now, not one a day. I actually host one at my office. It's a men's recovery meeting. I go to 1 or 2 a week. I'm still active. It's called Sponsoring Other Men, which is basically just like a sober mentor. You take them through these things called the 12 steps. And so I still have to work at my spiritual condition every day to like stay away from it. But as far as like a daily battle, like I haven't had a serious craving in probably, years and years.
Just stay away from the wrong people.
Yeah, and like today I can go be around alcohol and it doesn't bother me, but I don't drink. I have not been around hard drugs, and I don't really see any reason to be. I've not been around like somebody loading up a heroin syringe or fentanyl. Like,
those are not people that you want in your room.
Yeah. No. And like, I'm really careful who I let in my circle. And so, yeah, like I still practice, the diligence of staying sober, but it's much more about, just staying like spiritually connected to something greater than me. So
that's badass, dude.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a story.
Thanks, man.
Hell of a story. Like I said, most people they don't come back from that.
No, like 6, 7 overdoses, and that's why, I've been very open about my sobriety, and there was people who warned me to not do that early on because it puts even added pressure. I mean,
even like mentally.
Yeah.
Even mentally. I have friends from high school that, were never the same mentally, that I hung out with a ton, and they got involved. I'm so
grateful. I don't like it. I thought for sure like I'd cause some brain damage. And I'm just so full of gratitude that I made it out. Any day that goes by, I don't forget how lucky I am that for whatever reason, God or something else out there saw it fit that I stay alive. And like, that's, I shouldn't be here today. And the fact that I am like makes me extra motivated to do something with my life.
So how'd you get into the fitness space?
Well, when I first started personal training back in high school, that's when I got into it. But I loved it. I was a fat, chubby kid growing up, and I was teased and made fun of. And that was, I mean, I was teased by my friends, but that sucks.
Yeah.
Teenagers are brutal. Like 13-year-olds are just assholes. They just like, oh, Jensen's fat. He'll eat the pizza. And I'm like, fuck you. You can't say that. Like, I'd wear the black shirt to the pool in a 100-degree heat day,
No shirt off at the pool.
No, yeah. I'm fucking just that kid, I see some of those kids. I'm just like, I just want to give you a hug, dude. Because I was chubby, but I thought I was obese because I hung out with kids that had rib cages, but they called it ripped, right? And I was like, and so it messed with me bad. And that's actually when the first time I actually dabbled in alcohol was, and I found when I was drunk, I didn't really care what they said. And I was like 13, 14 years old. And then, but I got into it when I was about 14. I went to,
Those are some fucking asshole friends.
dude, dickheads. Sadly, two of them are dead now. One went to prison for 10 years. We didn't end up on the best track. So they, and I got into fitness. I went to a bookstore with my mom back when people used to go to bookstores, Barnes and Noble, and she was buying a book, and I was in the magazine section. I remember I picked up on Muscle and Fitness, and I saw this big jack dude on it, and it made no sense, but I was just like, I'm gonna look like that. That's gonna be me. That's what I want to look like. So I picked up a magazine. I just started reading, and it was the first time I'd been passionate about anything my whole entire life, man. I just like dove in. I was like, this is amazing. And I remember I ripped out a little page out of it that had like a meal plan, but this was probably for like a bikini girl or some shit. Like, because I remember it was like 4 egg whites in the morning and a half a grapefruit. It's like fucking 90 calories. Like, so I did this, dude, and I was 15 years old, and I was like, I'm in it to win it, man. I was so dedicated, and I lost a bunch of weight, and I also hit a growth spurt. And then I was kind of teased for being too skinny. My friends started calling me anorexia boy. And I was like,
you can't
win with these fuckers, dude. So I remember I started lifting a little at school, but my mom said I can't get a gym pass till I had a car. She's like, I'm not going to take you every day. You gotta earn that yourself. So when I turned 16, I got a gym pass at Lifestyles 2000. Became gold.
Oh,
and,
dude, yeah, that was the place.
That was the place.
Yeah.
And, dude, I went there, and I
Was
loved
that like
it.
Redwood Road and?
It was on Van Winkle.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and there was I went there and I just lifted, dude, and I loved it. I fell in love, dude, and my body just changed, and I would pick all these older guys' brains for hours there, like just be like, why are you doing that? What's a drop set? What does that do? And they were nice because they were probably really irritated by me, but within the matter of like a year going to my sophomore to junior year, I put on like 15, maybe 20 pounds, and like most of it of muscle. And I came back, and the hottest girl in the school thought I was cool now. She didn't even know who I was the year before. I was like, whatever. And she knows who I am now. Who cares? And dude, I just fell in love. And that's what, that was my story into fitness. And so.
What year did you graduate?
2003.
2003. Yeah. Same age.
Oh.
I graduated 2003.
From where?
From Granger.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I went to Highland for a year and then down to Granger for 2 years. So.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of the gym that I always went to. I thought it was Lifestyle 2000s. But
There was one on Redwood in 78.
It was Redwood in 78, yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking love that place.
Yeah. I actually, in 2000.
I think Manfrey went with me there all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started, when I went there, let's see, I ran the personal training department there in like 2006, maybe, for like 6 months. And it was then I started using it again. It was the classic story, and then I blew it again. But yeah, so that's how I became in love with fitness, man. And it's been a huge part of my sobriety too. Is just I see so many guys. I kind of frame this whole 4-legged chair model within my business of like, people come to me for their physical health, but if the other leg is emotional health, mental health, spiritual health, like if they're really uneven, like, you're not going to balance on that shit for long. So like we need to make sure all of them are optimizing. And I tell my client, like, I'm not a fucking therapist, I'm not any of this, but like I'm a guy who understands, I've been through some shit. Like, what are you doing for your mental health? Like, let's figure out like some goals for you. Like, and
that's key nutrition.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's really kind of the model I started to run with a few years back, and it's been cool just to watch people like just really first start to understand this, that like their mental health and emotional health is absolutely why they can't get on track of their physical health. And I see guys in recovery circles who man, they nail the mental, emotional, spiritual part, and then physically they're just so out of shape, can barely get up the stairs. And I'm like, what is the point of getting sober and living life if like you can't even move? Like, I see these guys with 20 years of sobriety, and I'm like, I admire your 20 years, but man, like you are so unhealthy. Like, and so it's been a big part of my sobriety is keeping that up.
Yeah. What's the best way to get a hold of you, dude, for the Key Nutrition?
KeyNutrition.com. You can apply to work with one of my coaches. You can apply to work with me too. I have a wait list right now only because I've got all these other moving parts, and so I don't take nearly as many clients as I used to.
Yeah.
And but I think my wait list is like a month right now. But yeah, I got a great team of coaches, and I think we have, I should know, 8. I'm trying to count. Yeah, 8 coaches. Yeah.
God damn.
Oh, that's an old picture too. But if you go to work with a coach, find a coach. I should know exactly how many coaches I have. But yeah, it's it's been cool, man. I was telling you, I don't know if we were recording yet, but I kind of wanted to build Key Nutrition into this empire. Like that was my goal. And then I realized I actually don't want to do that, at all. As you know, like managing a lot of other people is a job inside of itself. And it was like, so I went through a phase where I was like, okay, I hired a business mentor, and he was like, dude, you can't be running 50 clients a week and trying to like manage 8 or 9 coaches. No. And then, 300 or 400 different clients are coming in out of your, place. He's like, you got to like step back and just be the CEO. And so I did. And I was fucking miserable, dude. I missed coaching. I missed the one-on-one interaction. I was like, I don't want to do this. So I went back to coaching more. And I realized, I love it, but I think it's become the foundation for me to then I'm starting to try to build off of this foundation that Key Nutrition gave me. And it's not going away. Like I'm not going to shut it down. I mean, if someone approaches me to acquire it, maybe that's a different story, but I'm not going to just abandon it or any of that. And to be honest, we've kind of held steady the last 2 or 3 years, which I've been fine with, considering especially the times, but we haven't grown, but I'm doing a lot of other things that are starting to bring me just so much more joy and passion. And I still love coaching, but I didn't love managing a bunch of people. That was not my thing. You
back to just coaching, or did you find somebody to manage the people?
So I have somebody that helps me manage the people, which is nice. And that
cuts in everything.
Cuts into my paycheck, right? I mean, I got to now pay somebody else. But so me and the gal together kind of can help run the operations. I still step in, and I'm coaching more. But like I said, I got this course I do, which is like a high ticket self-development course, which is really like based off of that 4-legged chair model. And that's been a lot of fun. I do a little bit of mentoring and business coaching. And
what course is that?
It's called the Next Level Experience. So it's
is that on your Instagram?
Yeah, and it's mynextlevelexperience.com. But it's now going to be a 16-week course. And I took a long break from it. We were targeting the typical client we had coming into Key, the people that couldn't figure out, like, they know what to do, so why can't they fucking lose the weight? Like, they know what to do, but they're in their own way. Yep. And so we really created this program based off of that to dive in more mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Like, I got a therapist in there, I've got an energy worker, I've got, and really try to get everything really sound so then they can, actually finally lose the weight. But actually just revamping it, split ways with the guys I was doing it with, and we're targeting more like entrepreneurs and high performers now. Still with a component of health, but I'm excited. It's supposed to be it's going to be really fun.
I think everybody knows what they need to do to lose weight, but it's that accountability that helps as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And then obviously the nutrition plan is more tuned in.
Yeah.
If I didn't go see a nutritionist, I know that I just need to eat less.
Yeah.
But it's probably not going to be the right shit at the right time.
Yeah.
But then I'm not going to have the accountability, so it kind of goes back to that mindset. Not to the extent that you were, where you're like playing the tape.
Yeah.
Playing the tape, like run through what's going to happen if you take that drug. Like, run through what's going to happen if you eat that fucking donut. Like, you're going to eat a donut tomorrow again.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to think that's fine. And then you're going to be a month down the road and you're like, son of a bitch.
Monday it starts.
Monday I'll start again. I'll eat 2 more donuts.
Yeah.
No, fuck no.
Yeah, it's interesting. What really lit my fire for coaching And you know, we kind of try to like, you know, I think we were called nutrition consultants at the place me and Mike worked at together.
Yeah.
I was like, man, we're doing more than that. We're actually coaching. Like, we're really trying to teach and educate. And so, but what lit my fire for it was when I got sober, I asked this guy to sponsor me. And again, it's like a free mentor, you know, and it's my duty still at 10 years sober to help other guys. And you know, so it's free. And he said, yeah, like, I'll help you. He's like, but you're a shithead. I've seen you in and out of this recovery deal. Like, you know, I'm going to be hard on you. And I was like, cool, I want you to be hard on me. I remember, so I met with him every week, just like you would a coach, right? He gave me accountability. He gave me application. Okay, what do we need to do? What changes? Education, and then education, like educating me on different things, and then gave me assignments to follow through, just like we do kind of with coach. Like, hey, I want you to do this, and then here's your 4 workouts I want you to do, and it worked. And without that, I don't think I would have stayed sober. Like he was hard on me, and I needed that. I remember I showed up one time at. And we're supposed to meet at 7 o'clock, and I showed up, and it was 7:05, and there was a Post-it note on this thing that said, better luck next week, be on fucking time. I remember I grabbed the Post-it note. I'm like 4 months sober. I am fragile as shit. Like I was either crying or angry all the time. I like took it off, and I thought, fuck this guy. And I went out to my car, and I sat there, and I hung my head, and just almost about to cry. Like, dude, he won't even meet with me because I'm late. Like, it was all this pity. And he sends me a text. He must have been watching from his window. And he said, hey, I'm doing this because I love you, not because I hate you. You are incredibly undisciplined, so I'm going to help give you some discipline.
Yep.
And, like, because of that, that's where, like, I don't think I would have been sober without that guy. And he was really hard on me to an extent where about a year in, I think I tried to fight him one time because I was like, dude, stop talking to me like that. Like, and we're really cool today, but you know that lit my fire for coaching because that's how it worked. Like it worked. Like I tell people, my job is really fucking simple for you as a coach. It's accountability because that's a crutch to make shit happen, and trying to find that balance of holding some accountable in a graceful but yet gritty way. Like I'm probably a little harder on people than Mike is, but like just a personality. And I also know that like I wouldn't have stayed sober if that guy was fluffy on me. Like he was so hard on me.
5 minutes one day, 10 minutes the next day, 20 minutes the next day.
He'd be like, did you go to that meeting I told you to go to on Tuesday? I was like, yeah. He was like, were you on time? I was like, yeah. And he goes, were you on time? And I was like, no, I got there like 7:12. And he was like, that's not on time. He was like, dude, why did you just lie to me? If you can't lie, if you lie about the small shit, you're 1,000% going to lie about the big shit, bro. And like, I didn't get what integrity was. Like that wasn't even in my vocabulary for a long time. And so I try to be hard on clients in a graceful, but yet like gritty way. Like, clients come in sometimes, especially females, they're beating themselves up so bad. I mean, their week was not great, but to them, they're a fucking failure and I can't do this. And like, I don't know why I even try, like all this stinking thinking in their heads. And so sometimes it's just good to go, hey, like, okay, give yourself some grace. But like, what can we do to get back on track this week? And then there's other times where you do got to pull out the hat that I don't super love to wear, but that's like, hey, okay, it's 3 weeks in a row. Get your shit together. Like, you can't keep doing this. You're like, what do we need to do to get you back on track because you're better than this, right?
That's my favorite thing is the accountability.
Yeah.
There's no damn way. I dropped about, I don't know, with Mike, I dropped about 50, 60 pounds in 2015.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I thought I started out with him where you guys were at, and then jumped with him when he moved on. And I just remember going, okay, I can eat the same way all the time. I'll be fine. I don't have to keep going to see Mike. But shit, dude, I ended up getting in a relationship, stopped seeing Mike. Then it was like
relationship will do it.
Vacation. I'll start Monday, dude. A year passed, and I'm like, you are fat, dude. Yeah. And then I still didn't do anything about it. I played out eating that donut in my head, dude, and I was like, well, we'll do it. We'll start Monday.
It's interesting, though, and the deeper I get into business, I look at it as like this triangle, right? And it's like I've got my health and fitness, and then I've got my family and relationships. I mean, family's me and my kid, but even like my family members, but really my relationships and my relationship with my significant other right now and my kid, and then business. And I feel like the ball just kind of bounces in between here, and depending on the season, it's and again for me, because I feel a duty and honor to walk the walk. Like, The fat trainer just bothers me, but that's okay. That's my own shit to work through.
The fat trainer?
Yeah, it's like I see some on my gym, and I'm like, why don't you do fucking 20 sit-ups? Why are you yelling at them?
The fat trainer, the out-of-shape trainer.
Yes, the out-of-shape trainer.
I wouldn't go to that fucker.
No, thank you.
Yeah,
so
hell no.
my health, definitely, I probably stay more in check than most people because I feel, but there's times where I'm like super in it. And right now, to be honest, it's kind of like the ball is much more bouncing between business and my relationship and my child and being a dad and like I just think there's these seasons, and especially entrepreneurs, but it's just kind of getting back and making that a priority and like having it bounce up to the health thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I really wanted to target the next level experience more towards high performers. Like, it doesn't have to say, it could be an entrepreneur that's just a high performer that just like is a workaholic, but like it's people that just like have this drive and they've been successful and they want more, but they can't figure out how to balance that ball. Like, where it just kind of floats more in the middle.
I like thinking about that triangle.
Yeah.
Keeping it kind of centered where it's even between all three.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I'm more, right now, I bet you I'm over on the business side.
Yeah.
And I've been there since 2016, 2017. Yeah. And the health has it's taken a decline.
Yeah.
And I need to get that shit centered.
And it's hard because the reality is for most people, it does take like, there's got to be some sacrifice somewhere. And so sometimes like, I've had guys who were like, yeah, I'm not grinding as much as I want, and I'm probably, but I'm taking better care of my health, and I feel better. And, sometimes it's worth it, but, and other times, there's times where, like, there's not really a choice. You got to grind, and so.
Yeah. Try to keep it balanced, but it's tough.
I don't know if it'll ever exist, right? But I remember I heard Ed Milet.
It might pass through there as it's headed to the other side.
I heard Ed Milet, I believe it was, or maybe it was Bejos Cooling, I forget, but said, fucking balance doesn't exist, right? It doesn't exist. What there is, though, like, and why they've been able to be really good is when they are at the gym, and I took this to heart, when they are at the gym, he's at the fucking gym, okay? Puts his phone on Do Not Disturb. He's not still working, and I've been so guilty of that. When he's with his family and with his kids, like, he is there. He's present. He's doing that. And I'm sure they end up working a little. I'm not like, I'm not that naive.
Yeah.
But, that's their main focus. And then when they're at work, it's work. Like, and even to the point, I think it was Bejos Cooling. And he said, I told my wife, like, love you, but unless it's an emergency, I'm grinding today. Like, love you, but I will spend so much time with you when I get home. Like,
when I get home, I'm going to be with you, period.
And I've thought, you know what? I don't think balance does exist, but I can find a way. And so I remember that really clicked with me. And so when I'm at the gym now, like, I actually put my phone on Do Not Disturb, I mute all notifications, and I just work out. Like, I get it done. I find I'm more efficient. I even get out of there sooner. And then, when I'm a single dad, so when I have my kid, it's not like I have help. And so I only have him, I have him like 35% of the time, and it'll be 50-50 next year. And when that happens, it'll be interesting to see because right now I can be like, okay, the other 70% of the time I don't have him, I'm in it. Like, I'm working.
Yeah.
But business. But when I have him, when he shows up Wednesday at 4 p.m., like, I'm pretty much done. And, of course, there's little small things I have to do. But if I bust open that laptop, he fucking hates it.
Does he?
Like, he knows. Like, he tries to push it down.
And maybe balance isn't sitting in the center of that triangle. Yeah. Maybe balance is just here, here daily. Boom. Not just here for 3 months.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, just kind of bouncing. Be like, okay, right now I'm here.
Giving the sections daily of what it needs to be is balanced, not necessarily sitting in the middle.
Amen, dude.
You couldn't just sit in the middle.
No. And so I never really thought of it that way. That makes total like, so in a given day, I could be in all three areas of the triangle, but like when I'm there, the ball is there. I'm not also trying to bounce back. Like, I'm there and I'm doing it. And
you're not in the center working, talking to the family.
Yeah.
You give those designated spots their time daily.
So I've really tried to do that, man. And because when I'm with him, I haven't done a ton right as a dad, I'm sure. But one thing I have is I wanted to, like, I don't want to be the guy who just regrets I was never with my kid. And you know what? If I was still married, I wouldn't probably have taken the same approach because you have that fallback where I'm like, I can see him for a minute and then leave. Like when he shows up in my house, it's just me and him. That's it. Like, and so I just try to be really there for him. So, yeah.
I keep going back to that triangle. I love it, dude. I've never thought of that, and I'm guilty of just, I'll go home and work at my office. I'll work here. Yeah. Like I'm super guilty with that, and I'm gonna steal that, dude, because I think that I'm going to create that triangle, and that son of a bitch is going to be in my shower. Yeah. It's going to be on my screensaver of my phone. So every time I look at it, it's like, no, there's got to be balance. You got if you're not at work, you're with family, and just family. If you're not with family, you're doing your fitness, and that's fitness time.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm going to sit and stare at that every day.
Cool, man.
You might see that on my social media coming up with that triangle, dude.
No, I like the way you framed it too, and I think in a given day, it just goes in those different directions.
Yeah.
And you know, that's to me is like what balance. And you know, it's hard, man. You want this. I go through these phases where like I want this. You know, I fucking watch these guys like Andy Frisell and Ed Milet, and I'm like, you don't get there by accident. You get there by grinding your ass off.
Yes.
And so when I'm not efficient in that time I don't have my son, man, like I beat myself up. So like lately I've just been like, dude, and I went through this funk lately where I just like wasn't excited about anything really for like 3 months. And I kind of came out of it and was like, that fucking sucked, dude. I want to be excited again. And it's this dichotomy of like knowing that I got to grind my ass off to get big things in life. And I still always feel like I'm playing catch up because when I got sober at 28 years old, I had nothing to my name, a 505 credit score. I had a black garbage bag that you like rake leaves with, full of any of my belongings, which was one pair of clothes, some like weird gadgets, like an iPod, or what are those things called? Remember the little things you'd wear? What are they?
Oh, the music? Was it the Nano? What?
Yeah, Shuffle.
The
yeah,
Shuffle, yeah.
Fucking Shuffle.
Oh, was it the little square ones?
Yeah,
fucking shit.
Just like. But that was my whole belongings, and I had nothing, no car, nothing, and I had to scrape from the get. Like, had to, you know, I lived on people's couches that were sober this time, so that was good. Waited tables, got back in the fitness industry. That's actually where I'm rekindled with Mike, was at that place. And I kind of had this chip on my shoulder that I have to, like, hit, and it got me really far. Like, I went from nothing to having some shit in a matter of 10 or 12 months, and, like, having a life worth meaning. And so I try to channel that like hungriness, but also like not being to the point where I work so much that I start like not sleeping well and I feel like shit. And
yeah.
I don't know, I'm still figuring out. If you find out, let me know.
Same thing, back and forth, dude. No, I think it's badass where you came from and what you've got now and what you've created.
Thanks, man.
Both with helping people with issues, key nutrition, and then what was the other one that you were talking about that you...
my next level experience. Yeah,
your course, your next level experience.
Which actually, that's really what I'm trying to really hone in on and give a lot of energy and attention to, and because it was kind of just a side hustle that made me some decent money on the side. You know, it's a higher ticket thing, and but the reason I'm trying to go on is not. It can free up some of my time. But, you know, as an entrepreneur, I'll just find different time to work. Like, it's not like I'm not the guy like, sounds cool to be like, oh, I only work 20 hours a week and I make, you know, $500,000 a year. But I'm like, I would just start finding other things to work on.
You're an entrepreneur.
I don't want to just not work.
If I free up time, it's going to go to make more money somewhere else.
Yes.
That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, I heard a quote that said, entrepreneurs are the only people who work 80 hours a week to desperately avoid working 40 for somebody else. I'm like, so true.
That is true. It is true. I wouldn't trade it, though.
Yeah, no. And so, but the reason why I'm trying to free it up is because the fulfillment and passion I get from doing that is greater than I do. And if any of my clients listen to this, I'm sorry, but it's the truth, than if you lost 2 pounds this week.
Yeah.
Still cool, but like when I see people making these breakthroughs and these self-limiting beliefs, and I'm just like, holy shit, like they're looking different, their eyes look different, like that lights me up. And at the end of the day, man, like I just want to feel fulfilled, dude.
Yeah.
You know?
I like it.
It's like, what's the point of life if you know, if you make a bunch of money but you're fucking miserable.
And that happens all the time.
Yeah.
I hear that shit all the time, dude.
It's like, I got a buddy who makes great money, but how he makes it is pretty questionable to me. I mean, I think the FTC will have a say in that one day, but I was like, and he's sober, he's in recovery, and we're supposed to hold ourselves to these standards of like men of integrity and like, you know, we're rigorously honest and we do what we say we're going to do. And I said, dude, it's so much more important how you make your money than how much money you make, bro. And like, you know that, and that's why you're fucking
having that conscience.
Miserable with a Porsche in your garage.
Or having to watch like behind your back all the time or something.
Dude, awful.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Hell no.
No, like,
but
I see all his shit and I'm like, hey, he's doing better than me. But I'm like, but how he's doing it?
You know he ain't sleeping.
No.
You know he ain't fucking sleeping.
No, dude.
I'd rather sleep.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have that peace of mind.
Yeah.
But
100%.
I appreciate you coming on today, dude. This was a good conversation.
Thank you, man. Could have kept chatting
If we
forever.
have you back on the podcast, you've got to bring Sheena.
Dude, I should have brought Sheena. So if you guys don't, Sheena is...
Is that your twin sister?
Yeah. Yeah, it is my twin.
Is it?
No. Sheena's a character I created to basically make fun of all of my fucked up clients over the years. And they know it, too. I love it. They'll be like, oh, my God, that was so me. And it was actually
earlier phase of your client.
Yes, she was.
They've grown out of that.
She's developed. She developed in time over COVID because God knows we all went a little fucking crazy.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, and so there she is right there. That's the original Sheena video. You can see I'm missing.
I'm Sheena. I'm 21. I'm a fitness influencer, and I wanted to share with you guys my top 3 tips to make it through COVID 27 or 19 or whatever. Number 3, if you want to make it through this fit and rip through the Corona trip, this is what you do. Waist trainers.
Love this one.
Anybody says haters always hate, they don't understand body modification. I literally
That's the original one.
We got. Oh, okay. I was gonna say we got to go through the waist trainers.
Dude, we gotta get her on, man.
Dude.
She's never been on like her own official podcast. She would be really flattered.
You've got her phone number, right?
Yeah, I'll hit her up. I mean, she's always pissed that I get on all the podcasts, but she has never been on.
Your IG, the Sober Bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Go check out Sheena.
Yeah, go check out Sheena. So
she's a badass.
She actually got a new. I hadn't recorded a bunch of content for her in a long time because it's a whole fucking mood I got to get into, dude. Like to really do her right. Like
yeah.
I have to like my ex-wife would be like, I hate when you put that wig on. You turn into such a bitch. Like, and it keeps going even after I take it off. I'm just like a little snappy and so I have to really get in the mood. Like she's awful and I really get into character. And so I hadn't done one for a while and I actually just filmed some. Regrettably, but they're coming up. But it's funny, I was in my office filming it, and I had to go pee, and so I went out, and there was a couple of my coach's clients sitting in the lobby, and they just stared at me, and they had no clue.
Yeah,
and I was like, the whole do-up, like the little tight shirt, and I was like, I was like, it doesn't matter.
Just
I'm not going to explain to it. Yeah, like.
You'll see what it is.
I was going to try to like over-explain, but.
We need to get Sheena on.
Let's do it.
Definitely, dude.
So.
I appreciate you coming on, buddy.
Thank you. Great conversation.
Hell yeah.